On Yemen's Red Sea coast on Tuesday morning, Israel's naval warship fired missiles from hundreds of kilometers offshore onto the Hodeidah Port. But this wasn't just a random attack from Israel. Every war has a breaking point, and after the Houthis' 40-plus missiles at Israel, it was time for payback. And this payback went far beyond expected. Here's the breakdown of exactly what happened. Around 7 a.m. on June 10, 2025, Israeli destroyers fired on Hodeidah Port. The missiles traveled hundreds of kilometers before slamming into two piers controlled by Houthi rebels. However, there was something different about this attack. For months, Israel had been running airstrikes on Yemen. They were the regular quick hits, tactical strikes, in and out. But for warships to launch missiles from the sea is another level of beast mode because you can't hear them coming. And what's even crazier was that you can't track them the same way. The attack didn't happen overnight. An Israeli military official confirmed that the Navy had been preparing for the strike for a long period of time. Every part of the operation was carefully planned under the direction of the Israeli General Staff, together with Air Force and intelligence support, to make sure there was perfect accuracy in target selection. The Houthis, on the other hand, controlled the port with Iranian backing, giving them confidence that their position gave them some protection. They had less time to react when the missiles came in, and in less than a minute, everything was burned to dust. But Israel didn't just attack out of the blue and for no reason. Let's go back to where it all started. The Houthis began attacking Israel and maritime traffic in November 2023, a month after the October 7th Hamas massacre. The Houthis, backed by Iran, started firing missiles and drones at Israel, claiming they were acting in solidarity with the Palestinians. Between November 2023 and January 2025, the Houthis had fired over 40 ballistic missiles and dozens of attack drones and cruise missiles at Israel, including one that killed a civilian and wounded several others in Tel Aviv in July. That wasn't all. The Houthis continued, attacking more than 100 merchant vessels in the Red Sea that they believed to be linked to Israel, sinking 2 ships and killing 4 sailors. This immediately reduced the flow of trade through the Red Sea corridor. By January 2025, the Houthis held their attacks when a self-imposed ceasefire was reached between Israel and Hamas. But when that truce ended on March 18th, they continued their attack. At that point, they launched 56 ballistic missiles and at least 13 drones at Israel, several of which never made it to their targets. However, the Houthis became bolder with their attacks, and the next one really hit Israel on the nerve. In May, a Houthi missile evaded Israeli air defenses and struck near Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. This was the first direct hit near the airport, and this time, it was a very big deal. According to the Israeli military, the Hodeidah Port was being used to transfer weapons from Iran to the Houthis, and Israel's retaliation strikes were carried out to stop the use of the port for military purposes. So the evening before the strike, the Israeli military gave the offer for people to evacuate the Houthi-controlled ports of Ras Isa, Hodeidah, and Salif. The next morning, the Israeli Navy's Shayatet 3 unit executed the operation using advanced Sa'ar 6 class warships, together with other vessels stationed in the northern Red Sea. Each of the Sa'ar 6 vessels were equipped with an Odo Malera 76mm main gun, along with Gabriel and Harpoon missiles. These missiles were normally used in the anti-shipping role, making them fit to be fired from a substantial standoff range. The attacks were calculated and precise. At exactly 7 a.m. Jerusalem time, the vessels fired 2 long-range precision missiles loaded with large explosive payloads, targeting the port's most important infrastructure. The strike targeted vital docking and entry areas of the port, with 2 separate missile strikes hitting 2 piers at the city port. Although there were no casualties reported, the port, which played a big role in humanitarian aid entering the country, was rendered unusable for a month. One would think that was the only retaliation Israel would make. Well, the back and forth was just getting started. After Israel's naval attack on the Houthi port, they didn't stop there. Throughout 2025, Israel conducted at least 13 separate attacks on Yemen, hitting airports, cement factories, ports, power plants, and even targeting the Houthi leadership. On July 21st, Israel also bombed the port of Hodeidah in conjunction with its Deir al-Balah offensive attack in Gaza. Around midnight on July 6th, the Israeli military attacked Houthi targets in Yemen, attacking the ports of Hodeidah, As-Salaf, Ras Isa, and the Ras Kantib power plant. Israel further went ahead to strike down a cement factory to the north of the capital and the Bajil concrete factory east of Hodeidah, claiming that it was used to build tunnels and infrastructure for terrorist purposes. The strikes got more aggressive over time as Israel went all out with their attacks. On May 6th, Israeli forces struck Sana'a International Airport multiple times, destroying 3 Yemeni's civilian aircraft, including the last plane that was scheduled to fly Muslim pilgrims to Hajj. Then on August 31st, Israel approved a major airstrike and assassinated several senior Houthi officials, including the Prime Minister, Ahmed Ghalib al-Rahawi, the Foreign Minister, the Minister for Security Affairs, and other prominent officials at a convening in Sana'a. The Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, warned that his country's long arm in the air and sea will reach everywhere. He further went on to say that anyone who tried to harm Israel would be harmed, and anyone who raised a hand against Israel would have it cut off. He added that the Houthis would continue to pay a heavy price for their actions. Did Israel go too far in retaliation, or are the Houthis still fighting for the cause of Gaza at this point? Well, let's look at the repercussions of their actions. The Houthis' attacks on the Red Sea shipping massively disrupted global trade, causing the number of ships passing through the Suez Canal to drop from 2,068 in November 2023 to about 877 by October 2024. This forced ships to go around Africa instead, causing a great hike in the price of everything. Then they broadened their campaign attacks to ships tied to the United States and Britain, after which the two countries began military strikes aimed at securing the waterway in 2024. However, on May 6, 2025, following the Omani mediation, the United States brokered a ceasefire deal on each other's facilities and assets with the Houthis to stop attacking American ships, but instead, the Houthis made it clear that the agreement didn't include Israel and Israeli ships. The only thing that would make them stop attacking is if Israel ends its attacks in Gaza and lifts the blockade, as Israel imposed a blockade on Gaza in March, preventing the entry of food and other supplies, sparking a humanitarian crisis. The repercussions on each side became more and more grave with each strike, and despite how much Israel paralyzed the Hodeidah Port, the Houthis only got bolder. After the assassination strike that killed some of the Houthis' leaders, the Houthis launched a drone that hit and damaged the arrivals hall at Ramon Airport in southern Israel. They increased their attacks using warheads with cluster munitions that scatter over a large area and can evade Israeli air defenses. On July 6th, they went ahead and sank the Liberian-flagged Greek-operated MV Magic Seas. At this point, it's right to say that this war is no longer measured in victories any longer, but is measured in how long Yemen can survive being the battlefield for conflicts that started somewhere else entirely. So where does that leave us? Israel's strike on Houthis' port wasn't just a strike. It was Israel proving that no matter how many attacks the Houthis would fire, whether on air or on sea, their warships would hit their targets whenever they wanted, even from distances the Houthis could never counter. The Houthis proved they're not backing down, even if their leadership is getting assassinated and their ports are down to dust. 18+ million people continue to face hunger. 70% of commercial imports are disrupted, and critical aid ports are paralyzed. The attack opened the door to a calculated Israeli campaign that's destroying Yemen's infrastructure, which keeps it alive. And with the conflict directed to Gaza, there's no end in sight, as Israel says they're not going to stop striking anytime soon. Should we say the Houthis are doing this for a justifiable cause, or that Israel is doing this in retaliation to protect itself? What do you think?